And welcome into Hoopsville, everybody. We are live in Salem, Virginia, where we are on the road for the ODAC tournament. Of course, concentrating on everything involving Division III, but we are on the road here in Salem, Virginia for the ODAC men's and women's basketball championship tournaments. Of course, it is broken up. Women on Thursdays, men on Fridays, and the women will start things off again today with 4 games in the quarterfinals. We'll talk plenty more about that, talk to a few people here in Salem, Virginia. Of course, this is our first trip to Salem, Virginia when it's not involving an NCAA championship. This is our 17th trip overall. We've been here for 14 Final Fours and expecting to be here for our 15th in just a matter of weeks on the men's side. And of course, the Stag Bowl for the football championship as well. Me personally, been here 3 times for that. And of course, D3 Sports has been here for a number of years. It's the first time, though, we're here for the ODAC championship, and we want to thank all those here at the ODAC, including Brad Bankson, JJ Nekoloff, and Molly Robertson for helping us with this effort. We are going to be live leading up to the start of the women's championship tournament with the 1 o'clock game. We will go until about 12:40 today. You will see some practices going on behind us. We've positioned it so we don't give away too much of what is going on in these practices. Again, today will be centric on women's action and what is going on the women's side of things, certainly. There's lots to talk about, and lots of teams are jockeying for position. We'll talk to some of the teams who look like are in the NCAA tournament at this point in time, at least one who has clinched their spot, 2 who are hoping to clinch an automatic bid. We'll also talk to some of those here at the ODAC, hoping to do the exact same thing. Also talk to some of those here at the ODAC about putting this on. Tomorrow, when we talk men mainly, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we will talk to a few teams who are positioning themselves as well, including one who is very much on a tenuous bubble. Whether they get in has a lot to do with everybody else and how they end up getting regionally ranked in the end. So that's kind of what we're going to be covering in the next 2 days. We'll also do some special interviews while we're here with others involved in the ODAC tournament. Of course, we'll be here on hand, so we'll cover the tournament as we are here as well. So that is Thursday and Friday. We were thinking about staying for the weekend, but other events have precluded that, so we will be off the road and back up into the Baltimore area. Quick note, though, about Sunday and Monday here on Hoopsville. Sunday, we will be on the air from about 6 p.m. until I say 10. It usually goes longer. We will talk to teams who have clinched spots into the NCAA tournament, teams who are looking to be at-large teams and hoping to get in, maybe a couple similar to tomorrow who are on a tenuous bubble to make the NCAA tournament. Of course, surprises as well. Then on Monday afternoon, the NCAA tournament NCAA will release who is in the men's and women's basketball tournaments. I believe the times are 12:30 Eastern for the men and 2:30 Eastern for the women. We will then follow the women's bracket with a Hoopsville show. We're still working out the details, 3 or 4 o'clock. We'll figure those out and let you know via Twitter and Facebook and etc. And we will be on the air then talking to maybe some of the surprise teams who are in, a couple teams who may have missed out, and who are the hosts as well as we get ready for the first weekend of the NCAA tournament in 10 days, or really I should say less than that. It's a week from tomorrow, and in the men's side, a week from today, we'll be tipping off the NCAA tournaments. If you'd like to interact with us, we certainly love the interaction. You can tweet us at D3Hoopsville or use the hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Of course, you can also email us, Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. We'll certainly try and answer many of the questions that you may have throughout, and we will do our best to do that as well. And of course, if you have questions for our own guests, please feel free to do that. Again, coming up, not ODAC centric, but others. We'll have Amherst women's basketball coach GP Gromacki. We'll have WashU's women's basketball coach Nancy Fay, and Ohio Northern's women's basketball coach Michelle Durand. Here in this area, we will talk to Roanoke's women's basketball coach, among others. We'll also talk to Eastern Mennonite's women's basketball coach. They are the 1 seed here at the ODAC tournament. We'll talk about the pressures of being the 1 seed, the expectations of getting the automatic bid, and trying to make sure they don't keep it in the hands, as it were, of the NCAA Tournament Committee. So that's all coming up here on Hoopsville. Again, interact with us via Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville, on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville, and of course on email, Hoopsville at D3Hoops. WashU.com. That's how you can interact with us. We hope you'll take advantage of those opportunities. Some of the things going on in Division III, Moravian women got a big win yesterday against Catholic. That game means a lot because at some point one of them was going to get put on a bubble. The interesting thing, and for this year and this year is the last year we'll have that, Moravian is in the Mid-Atlantic, Catholic is in the Atlantic region. The Landmark Conference split in two, and next year they'll fix that and put it all in the Mid-Atlantic. So Catholic now gets put on the at-large teams coming out of the Atlantic region. And that's going to be key because there's some good teams there. FDU Florham's the other. Catholic isn't going to necessarily block anybody, but it takes an extra step or an extra pick or two away from the Atlantic getting to the board. And so that is a key for that. I think Catholic is into the NCAA tournament. I don't think there's a surprise there. I think the Landmark women may be positioning themselves for 3, Scranton, Moravian, and Catholic. But again, no sure bets. Catholic could be in trouble as well, and you just don't realize it. So lots to figure out there on the women's side of things, to be sure. It was a crazy Wednesday with a lot of things going on. For example, CUNYAC had their top seed eliminated from the NCAA tournament. How that will have an impact on things down the road is to be determined. And quickly on the men's side, I know there was some chaos there as well. Teams like Messiah now already on a bubble on the men's side of things. That can be a major factor for the Mid-Atlantic, which is chock-a-block with teams hoping to get into the NCAA tournament. But we had other results across the board as well. So we'll keep an eye on the men, but we'll focus on them a little bit more on Wednesday, though feel free to ask us questions, or I should say on Friday. Today it's more women's central. Again, other scores from NCAA, from conference tournament action. You'll remember a couple days ago in the Capital Athletic Conference, no surprises here. Salisbury and Marymount are moving on. Salisbury is now traveling to Christopher Newport to play tonight, and Marymount will travel to York, and that game tonight, again, championship will be on March 1st on Saturday. In the Centennial Conference, Gettysburg beat Muhlenberg on the road, 66-51. Gettysburg will now play Haverford, and Hopkins will play McDaniel. Those games all taking place on Friday, championship on Saturday. We mentioned the CUNYAC. It was upset central there last night as both Hunter and Baruch won. Hunter beat Staten Island, and Baruch beat Brooklyn. Those two teams were both the travel teams. Or at least on paper. Staten Island was the top seed. Staten Island is out. Whether they can make the NCAA tournament certainly is to be decided. In the Atlantic region on the women's side, Montclair State, York, Christopher Newport, Catholic, Salisbury, then Baruch. I suspect because Staten Island's not ranked, even though they are ahead of Baruch in the conference tournament, I don't think Staten Island gets in the tournament. They're probably out. You figure Montclair State will make it. You figure York will make it. Christopher Newport certainly seems to be in good position. We mentioned Catholic. You figure Catholic at worst will be the second team on the board in the Atlantic region. Then you have Salisbury and Baruch. I don't see Staten Island at this point making the NCAA tournament, so losing to Hunter has essentially ended their season. Other games that took place this week in the CSAC, Cabrini won against Gwynedd Mercy. Immaculata with the upset over Newman, so it'll be Immaculata versus Cabrini. That's on Saturday for a chance there. In the Commonwealth Conference, all the home seeds advance, so later today it will be Salve Regina versus New England and Endicott versus Roger Williams in the semifinals. MAC Commonwealth, we talked about this one. Lebanon Valley held on to beat Stevenson, who apparently was atrocious from the free throw line. Messiah got the upset over Elizabethtown. Elizabethtown's chances of making the NCAA tournament are probably on life support, considering they were 7th in the regional rankings. FDU Florham ahead of them, Scranton ahead of them, Haverford and Cabrini ahead of them. All 4 of those will probably get in. Moravian is into the championship game. That helps boost their overall resume, along with Lebanon Valley, who's in there now. Elizabethtown sits 7th, will be behind a whole host of teams. Whether they get into the NCAA tournament is debatable, and whether they get in is going to affect DeSales. Will DeSales move ahead of Elizabethtown? Either one of them, Elizabethtown or DeSales, is going to act like a blocker here in the Mid-Atlantic on the women's side. So Elizabethtown's final game in the MAC Commonwealth ends with a loss in the semifinals and may have ended their hopes of making the NCAA tournament on a team that has certainly turned around, and you'll remember won the program's 1,000th game not that long ago, but Messiah getting the big win there. Empire 8 will play tomorrow in the semifinals. Freedom Conference, FDU Florham, we mentioned winning that one despite a valiant effort from Delaware Valley. DeSales got the big win over Eastern. That will help DeSales' resume there, as they both will play for the championship, FDU Florham and DeSales, coming up on Saturday. Other things that jump out at me, not a lot, because a lot of teams haven't played yet. A lot of two-day conferences in the NCAA tournament. Though in the IIAC, a bunch of upsets, as Wartburg beats Simpson and Buena Vista beat Dubuque. That was a couple days ago. So that sets up semifinal action. Wartburg versus Loras today, and Buena Vista versus Co today. We mentioned the landmark conference will be Moravian versus Scranton. Scranton, a doubleheader in men's basketball and women's basketball action on Saturday for conference titles. Men will play first, women will play second. A lot on the line there on the women's side, though I think both teams are going to get in. And again, Catholic being on the Atlantic region side of things will have a much better chance of making the NCAA tournament as well. So landmark conference, I think, really in good position to get 3 teams in, especially if Moravian were to win the automatic bid. So that's kind of the lay of the land, as it were. Going through a lot of games coming up later today, and certainly a lot of games tomorrow on the women's side. We talk about the 4 games here in the ODAC. In the ODAC tournament coming up today, you will have Shenandoah versus Eastern Mennonite. Eastern Mennonite, the 1 seed. That game coming up at 1 o'clock. Virginia Wesleyan will take on Guilford. That's your 3 o'clock game. Bridgewater will take on Randolph-Macon. That's your 6 o'clock game. And then at 8 o'clock, it'll be Roanoke versus Lynchburg. We will talk to Roanoke's women's basketball coach coming up here shortly. The winners of those games will then not play until Saturday. That will be the semifinals. And then on Sunday is the championship. This is all in women's basketball action. The men play tomorrow. The men will play back-to-back-to-back. Quarterfinals on Friday, semifinals on Saturday, and championship on Sunday. But again, here at the Salem Civic Center, it'll be Shenandoah versus Eastern Mennonite, Virginia Wesleyan versus Guilford, Bridgewater versus Randolph-Macon, and Roanoke versus Lynchburg. A lot on the line in this conference, which probably is looking at maybe getting 2 teams into the tournament. Right now, the highest seed in the regional rankings is Randolph-Macon, sitting at 5, with Eastern Mennonite at 6. Obviously, if either of those 2 teams get to the championship, I think they're in good shape. It's the other one that you have to worry about. You know, Ferrum, Rhodes, Texas, Tyler, and Maryville are ahead of them. Ferrum and Maryville are in the same conference, so figure at least 1 team in the South will be ahead of either Randolph-Macon or Eastern Mennonite. Of course, if both teams lose, that means for one of them, either Randolph-Macon or Eastern Mennonite, there'll be 2 teams ahead of them, minimum, on the board. That's assuming Rhodes doesn't go ahead and win their conference, and Texas Tyler doesn't win their conference. That can add to the misery of the South. So the ODAC in good shape to get 2 teams in. Nobody else regionally ranked. I don't imagine there's anybody else in position. So really, Randolph-Macon and Eastern Mennonite trying to make their case to make the NCAA tournament. Of course, winning the automatic bid makes that easier, but both teams would certainly like to avoid the carnage, as it were. They are on opposite sides of the bracket, lined up to play in the championship game. Quickly on the West, you'll notice a new top 25 member. Whitman is number 1 now, I should say, a new number 1 on the women's side. Whitman taking that after DePaul losing Ohio Wesleyan. DePaul falls to 4th, and there was a split. Whitman didn't even get the most number 1 votes, yet they're the number 1 team. It also has to do with where else you are positioned on everybody else's poll. On the flip side of that, in the regional rankings, DePaul women stayed number 1. And I think that's important because, remember, the Great Lakes region features DePaul 1, Hope 2 undefeated, Thomas More undefeated at number 3, and then Baldwin Wallace, John Carroll, Ohio Northern, Transylvania, Olivet. So DePaul does not fall in the regional rankings despite being number 1. I think that's pretty key for anybody out there who may be wondering. So certainly those 3 teams, by the way, at lock. It's just interesting how they didn't fall with other regionally ranked opponents certainly taking a hit. As we mentioned, coming up here on the show, we have plenty to talk about. Nationally, we'll talk to Amherst, WashU, and Ohio Northern. Of course, here in Salem, we will talk to plenty more, including ODAC women's basketball coach Susan Dunigan, who reached 600 wins today, or not today, this season, we should say. So that is what we have ahead of us. Lots to talk about between now and then. We will start with an ODAC take on things here on the Hoopsville Classic, or Hoopsville tournament, at the ODAC tournament here coming up. We'll talk Roanoke, then Eastern Mennonite. Then we'll go national, talk to 3 teams around the country on the phone, and then we'll come back here and wrap things up. We're on the air until about 12:40 today. We're going to take a break, and really for us, a break's going to be giving you a nice sight and sound of the Salem Civic Center while we get Coach Dunigan in position here to join us on the show. Again, you can interact with us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or use the hashtag Hoopsville. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. And of course, you can email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. We'll look forward to seeing you back here just a couple minutes as we get Coach Dunigan here on Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, and on the road here in Salem, thanks to the ODAC and its staff. We'll be back after this. Hello, Coach.
Sure.
Come around over here.
Thank you very much for having us today.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Susan.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Come on over. I got a nice little seat.
All right.
And welcome back, everybody, to Hoopsville. We are on the road at the ODAC tournament here, in a women's tournament taking center stage here on Thursday at the Salem Civic Center. I am Dave McHugh, and I'm now joined by women's basketball coach at Roanoke, Susan Dunigan, who is a 600-win milestone. I lost what I was trying to say, but basically
okay.
You've achieved one heck of a goal. So
Wow.
First and foremost, congratulations.
Thank you so much. I tell you, it's been, you look at it and you say, 33 years, 600 wins. Wow.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but I've been very fortunate to be at the school I am now and having great people around me.
Has Paige Moyer asked you any questions on achieving that kind of goal?
Paige and I have a very unique relationship.
Most men's and women's basketball coaches have unique relationships.
Oh, he's wonderful. He's
Yeah.
wonderful. He helps me immensely, and we work so well together. He's like my brother. Even though we're like brother and sister.
You've worked together for so long. That's not surprising. 13-12 squad this year. You finished 8-8 in the conference. Obviously, it was important to get to the Salem Civic Center. You got that done in the first game, beating Washington in league,
Right.
and positioning yourself for this game against Lynchburg. I think what's interesting is you kind of had spits and spats this year. You had about a 7-game losing streak early on in the season. You then rattled off about 5 or 6 in a row before running to a 3-game, then a 2-game. Then it's been back and forth. You guys haven't seemed to find consistency unless
Right.
you call consistency streaks.
Right, and that's the most frustrating part for Coach, because they can do it. And we started out, we had a hellacious schedule in the beginning, and trying to find our identity. It took us a while, and we got back from Christmas and after Christmas break, and we were able to kind of settle in and learn from what we had done earlier, and that's when we got on our streak. And then we got tired because we had run into coming back off of a lot of back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And it hit us, but we played some great teams.
Well, I was going to say, you look at your schedule,
Yeah.
You've got Ferrum on there in
Right.
non-conference play. Of course, Christopher Newport
Right.
down here in the south. This isn't even, we're not even talking conference. Then you
Right.
decided to double down and go to Maryville and play them.
That
Of
was-
course, that was at Transylvania.
Transylvania,
And
right.
Transylvania is a good team as well.
Yes.
You outside of conference, and then, by the way, throwing in there a game against Stevenson. Of course, Stevenson traveling down from having played at home the day
Yes.
before. Stevenson, a team like you, kind of streaky, maybe the overall record doesn't indicate everything. You guys played some really good talent.
Right.
Was that by design or by happenstance?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. We needed some games, but I also wanted to challenge these young ladies and see what they were made of, because I knew we had 2 outstanding seniors, 4 juniors, but we're still we're still young.
Yeah.
And I don't have, but a lot of complementary type players. So it's a matter for them, everybody to be able to find their confidence in what they can do and their role on the team, and we're getting there.
You only have one senior on this squad.
2.
You have 2? Okay,
yeah.
so I can't leave.
That's okay. It's early.
Yeah, it is. Well, for me especially. I'm usually doing the show at 7 p.m.
Okay.
2 seniors in the squad. You put a schedule like that together, that can make or break the younger part of the squad, especially considering, that's tough to do. How has their response been?
It's been outstanding. It's been wonderful. A lot of coaches will look and you say, okay, you've got a 500 team. You must be struggling, and yeah, we are at times. But I tell you what, it's been one of the most enjoyable years because of these kids. I've just got a great group of kids, and they will give me everything I ask. And I'm just hoping, starting this tournament, we'll get it started right.
Well, certainly getting the win and getting to here is the biggest step. You guys are very familiar with playing at the Salem Civic Center. Everybody in the ODAC is. But what do you have to adjust to? Certainly, you don't have to worry about travel.
Right.
I can throw a football and almost hit Roanoke College from here. Well, maybe me not throw the football, but somebody could. But so you don't have to deal with the hotel. You don't have to deal with the travel. The team is on campus. But you're not at your gym.
But we also have to go to classes.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you don't get the excuse everybody else has.
I had a kid a couple of years ago who had to take an exam or test before the game, and she had to run back and take a test after the game. So those, you got your pros and cons, and being Division III, this is what happens.
Have you pushed for this to be at a different place outside?
Never.
Away from Roanoke?
Honestly, never, because the Rotarians do such a great job.
Absolutely.
This is a top-notch event.
You guys, do you even bus over? I mean, do you guys almost carpool over for
That's
the practices
what we do.
And carpool over for the games? I assume the crowd will come and be supportive, but do you have to adjust to anything considering the more expansive space that you only play in this building once a year?
I just think when they come in here, to be able to, have that distance between the wall and the basket, the depth that is around you, having to run off the edge of the floor, it's just little things. It's just the experience of being here, and the young ones. I remember my seniors when they first came here the first year, and I put them out there in the game. And, oh my gosh, get them out, because it's like a deer in headlights, because it's just such a big arena, and they're not used to playing in it. So yeah, it's definitely an adjustment.
The advantage is they at least get to go home to their beds. As we
that's
pointed out. Another thing, you guys are on the verge of finally getting that new gym.
Wow, how do you find out all these things?
I'm good. I'm good like that. I know that's been a work in progress for a number of years. I know that you guys like your home, but it's needed upgrades. Where is that stand at this point? Are you looking forward to it? Is it a few years, many years? How far out is it?
It's a couple of years. They're saying it's going to be 2 years. They're going to tear down the dorm where it's going to be built, and as soon as the kids leaves campus, and they're going to start tearing it down, and then they're going to begin construction this summer. So if all goes well, but you know how that goes.
Oh, absolutely.
So I know it's
turn into 4.
Right, and that's I want to get my hopes up, but yet I'm cautiously optimistic.
Do you have plans to be still coaching when that gym comes around?
Well, I keep telling people it's going to be a year at a time.
A year at a time.
Yes.
It's not a bad idea. You don't want to. Some contracts are a year at a time too. So, let me quickly about your team. You're led by Paxton Gwynn, 18.6 points a game. Laurel Hankins at 12.5 points a game. Both of them big rebounders for you as well, along with Tatum McKee at 10 points a game and 7 rebounds. Those teams seem to be the big 3. I should mention Kelsey Smith also at 9.4. Right. Those are really the 4. They're the offensive weapons. And then there's a drop off to everybody else. But you look at the stats. You are not afraid to go really deep off your bench. Quick math tells me I think 11 or 12 players have played in all 25 games this season. Is that because you've got the talent, or you're just trying to gain the experience?
A lot to gain experience, but I've always been like this, though. I don't want to run the starters in the first top 8. I don't want to run them into the ground. You want to have something, later and then at the end of the season. But a lot of it is for future. to think and get these kids some experience, and you'll notice some will get in and then come right back out.
Yeah.
But just to be able to step in there. But and we've had some good minutes from a lot of them, and trying to get their confidence. But I think knowing Paxton is undersized terribly, having to play in the post, and she gets beaten up. And Tatum McKee, the same thing. I've got guards playing posts, and that's made it difficult. So we have to give them rest and bring them out. But I'm proud that they have accomplished what they have with the minutes and being undersized. I mean, we've been undersized in almost every game. So, but they play with a lot of heart.
You hear the who's who of the schedule again. If I take you guys out of the equation and you're just here handicapping what's going to happen, who do you think comes out of here? Do you think we see a surprise?
Wow.
You can include yourself if you want in the surprise, by the way.
Certainly we're going to be surprised. You know that. But I swear, I think the top four, I don't think it's going to be a surprise. I think it's the top four are strong. They're real strong. And, depending on how they're playing that particular day, what's falling for them, as to who pulls it out. But I think, the top four look really good. And Virginia Wesleyan's just now starting to come on because they've had a lot of injuries. Yeah. And then there's Roanoke College.
You never know.
Right.
A good win today puts you in a good spot.
Right.
How do you see the matchup today?
Tough. We played them up at their place this year, lost to them by 1. I started out thinking, okay, we can play them man.
No.
Got down 7-0 quick, and we went into a zone, and we were able to get into the game and take it to the end. So it's I don't know how we're going to play in that zone. I'm sure they're going to be adjusting. So it's if we can't handle that zone, if we can't do the zone, it's going to be a long afternoon, I think.
Well, of course, we have to wait until 8 o'clock to see you guys in action. But it'll be you versus Lynchburg here at the Salem Civic Center. As a guest, I always give you the final word. Any final thoughts you want to pass on to anybody who may be tuning in?
I would love to say how proud we are of our conference. We've come a long way, and I feel like we are the epitome of Division III philosophy. Yeah. We're small schools, anywhere from 800 to 2,500, and we get it done, the right way. And I'm proud of the coaches that we have in the conference and what they've done. Of course, I'm the grandmother, so they better be doing it right,
Or let you win some.
Yeah, they better. You'd think they'd understand that, don't you?
You've won 600. You deserve
exactly.
some more.
Daggone it all.
Well, congratulations on getting here. Thanks for joining me here.
You're so
Good luck
awesome.
tonight as well. We will talk more with her, but of course, Coach Durand here. I'm making up names as we speak here. Dunigan. Durand is coming up
How
later.
long have you been doing this?
Way too long.
Oh, God.
Not long enough. Coach Dunigan here from Roanoke. We appreciate you taking
Thank
the
you,
time.
sweetie.
Good luck tonight.
It's very nice to meet you.
Nice
Thanks
to
for
meet
having
you.
us.
Absolutely. We'll be back with Eastern Mennonites women's basketball coach coming up here in Hoopsville. Again, Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville, on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville or Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. We'll be back right after this with Eastern Mennonites women's basketball coach here in Salem, Virginia. And welcome back to Hoopsville on the road here at the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia, in the Roanoke Valley as we get ready for the ODAC tournament. Well, I'll thank our partners here at the ODAC, and especially you're getting to watch this simulcast not only on Hoopsville, but of course ODAC.tv. And want to thank JJ Nekoloff, Brad Bankston, and others for certainly their help there. You'll see us, we like to do it cold sometimes, and joining us once again, more ODAC talk. There's nothing usually wrong with that. Joining us now, Eastern Mennonites women's basketball coach. Joining us, Kevin Griffin. And Coach, we talked already this season. You were pretty happy about your team. I'm assuming that assumption, or assuming that feeling is still the same.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yep, we're pleased. We're excited to be here. We're just ready to play.
Number 1 seed in the tournament. You're 21-4 in the season, 15-1 in this conference. To say you guys had a good time of it is to say it lightly. But your one loss was to the coach I just talked to on the show. You guys lost to Roanoke earlier this season, 69-65 in a nip and tuck game down the street from here. What did you guys learn from that game? Because since then you've been on a tear.
I thought they played really well, and we didn't play well. I mean, we had 28 turnovers in that game. We didn't shoot it well. I have no idea why it happened other than it's college basketball, and it's on the road, it's in league, and that's just what happens. So she's a good coach. They got a really good team. They've got good players. It sounds all like I'm giving you coach talk, but
you are, but that's okay.
I don't have one specific thing to point to other than we didn't take care of the basketball, and we didn't shoot it well. And it was a road game, and we still had our chances down the stretch, but and give them credit. They made plays when they need to make plays.
I talked to her about the challenge that they had this season. They had a hit list, not counting the conference, of really tough teams. We talked a little about this with yourself. You guys played York this season. You also played Ferrum out of conference. You played Johns Hopkins out of conference. That Hopkins game, a last-minute addition, certainly looks good right now. How has those games prepared you for rolling through this conference?
Well, we wanted to challenge ourselves, and we felt like those games would, I don't know how you measure it quantitatively or whatever, but we just tried to go play people that we knew were going to be really good to challenge ourselves, to get ready for days like today. And interestingly enough, all 3 of those were on the road. Yeah. All 3 tough places to play. And when we played Hopkins, I think I've noticed in the last 3 weeks their best athlete has not played. So they were at pretty much full strength. 3 of those games, at least 2 for sure, our starting 2 guard, who's a 4-year captain, did not play. She did play minimal minutes against Hopkins. I'm not saying it would have made a big difference, but I think it would have helped us. So we just felt like, let's go in some tough environments. Let's play really good teams. It isn't what I would have loved to do, is play all of them on the road, but we did. And so I do think it just sort of helped prove our mettle and get us ready for what's to come.
You're number 1 in this conference, and certainly earned that number 1 seed by going 15-1. You got a whole host of players that are contributing: sophomores, seniors, juniors. It's run the gamut. Led by a senior, but you got juniors and sophomores who are certainly contributing. What's been the key to this team gelling the way it has, and the way they're now playing, especially late here in the conference? They're
unselfish. I think they care about each other. The success over the last couple years has fueled them to want to continue to play basketball. They really honestly don't care who does what on a given night. I mean, and if you look at our stats, it's been a share the basketball, share the points, share the rebounds. It's a coach's dream in terms of I don't have to worry about if somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. I mean, yes, we do play through Bianca a lot. Yeah. She's going to probably take the most shots. She's the senior. She's the captain. She's, I mean, what doesn't she do? She scores, she rebounds, she's top 15 in assists in our school. But the other kids are okay with it, and they see her. Part of it is her work ethic. I talked about this last time with you. She works so hard on a daily basis that the other kids, it's just sort of like, well, yeah, she's earned it. And so they sort of just follow along behind her. But really it's a committee effort, and they've been great about being willing to say, we don't care whose night it is.
You guys take on Shenandoah here in the 1 o'clock game, being the top seed. You get the early one. Of course, you guys just faced them at their place. It was a 9-point victory for you guys. What, if anything, can you take from the 2 previous games you play against an opponent? But in Shenandoah's case, I don't even know.
We played them once.
You've just played them once. So in their case, what can you take from that game, especially since it was just a matter of days ago to really prepare you for this one?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're going to try to do a bunch of stuff different than what they normally do. We probably won't. That's not who we are. I doubt that they will. So you sort of know, okay, this is what some of the matchups are. You sort of know this is what they're going to try to run. I'm sure there'll be some wrinkles that they throw in there. But so that much you can take. You can take a familiarity that hopefully you haven't had to spend as much time saying, we've never seen this team, we don't know anything about them, we don't know their tendencies, we don't know their statistics. Other than that, we played in their gym. I think they're really well coached. They hold you in scoring, and they make it tough on you to score. I mean, you know, they held us to almost 20 below our average. So, you know, we're confident in the sense that, yes, we can play with them or beat them, but we're not by any stretch arrogant thinking they can't beat us and they can't play with us.
I know you don't want to look beyond the game at hand, but you guys are sitting in the middle of the pack in the regional rankings, with Randolph-Macon. They're actually slightly ahead of you in the regional rankings. I should say slightly. They're one spot ahead of you. How important is it to at least put down some resume games, as it were, right now? At least get to the championship game if you can't win the AQ, to at least position yourself as well as possible for an at-large.
Well, it's huge, but you know, if we, and I don't talk to them about it, I don't think our kids even know about it. I mean, if we spend our time, you know, worrying about that, we won't sleep, we won't eat, we just got to go play basketball, and we've just tried to do that every day and try to get better, and you know what, at the end of the year, we'll see what happens, and hopefully the teams that we've played and what we've done in particular, in that we've played so well here for the last 6-7 weeks, this is the most important time of year. Hopefully people will look at that. Hopefully people will say, wow, I mean, they just 15-1 in their league, and they went on the road and played tough people. Hopefully that's enough, but who knows?
What about the atmosphere of playing in the Salem Civic Center? The idea that you guys are all coming to one location, you're going to play it here, you're going to decide it here. It's a big arena. It's got how does that drive the team? How do you have to approach that as a coach?
I like it. I mean, my preference would be to play at home.
Sure.
You know, and a lot of other schools do that. But I do like the fact that, like, we came down last night and they have a great banquet for us. We do all conference awards. I mean, it's like, you know, the ACC tournament. And so what a great experience for the kids. And if that's what it's about, then I'm all for it. Yes, my preference, a home game.
Sure.
But we're here. I like the idea that our athletes and our coaches, we get to come together. We're in one spot. Our league, really, we get along well together as coaches and as players. And we have, you know, I have so much respect for my peers and what they've done. Several of them have done it for a long time. You know, it's not just been they've been good for a while. So I think our kids enjoy it. It's just a great atmosphere.
And of course, you got to get used to shooting lines and all that. That all changes. But I assume you're running into teams in the hotel, and does it change kind of the approach of the game, that you actually know your opponent maybe a little more than you normally would?
Yeah, and we're actually not staying where anybody else is staying. I don't know about the other teams, but
smart, maybe.
You know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's accident or by design, but I think that, you know, last night was the banquet and everybody's, you know, friendly and congenial, and but today it's let's play basketball, and everybody's trying to win. So I mean, it just moves from there.
What's the message to the team in the locker room as you get ready for this game and really make a push to win a conference title?
We have to do a couple things, but the main thing is play with energy. I think when our team plays with energy, and I know that sounds crazy, I think we're pretty good. When we don't play with energy, it's not like we're not trying, or not that but when we play with energy, we're a lot better on both ends of the floor, and so that's really it. I mean, yes, we have to rebound and make shots and all those other things, but number one, let's play with some energy, and let's be excited about being here, and that's it.
And of course, you mentioned the low scoring against Shenandoah just a couple of games ago. What worries you the most about that matchup with them?
Just that they defend really well. They're going to make you work to score. You know, a lot of our offense comes out of defense, and we're trying to push the pace and get in transition. And I think that they do a really, really nice job of. They're not going to give you a bunch of transition baskets. They're not going to give you easy stuff. And so, you know, that concerns me. We're going to have to rebound, and we're going to have to make free throws.
As always, you know, we give the guest the final word. And I'm just starting this. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
None, other than we're just excited to play basketball today, and we hope that we play well and just, you know, like I said, I'm being redundant here, but I just want to thank the Civic Center and the Rotary Club for all they've done and having us, and it's just a great atmosphere. We're excited.
Very good. I know the team's getting ready right now as we speak. I know you want to go talk to him, so thanks for joining me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Kevin Griffin joining us here from Eastern Mennonite. We appreciate him taking the time to do so. He'll get ready with his team. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll start taking a national scope on things, talk Amherst women's basketball, WashU, and Ohio Northern. That's all coming up here on Hoopsville. If you have questions for us, feel free to join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville, and on email Hoopsville@D3Hoops.com. When we come back again, we'll jump national scope, talk to Amherst women's basketball coach G.P. Gromacki right here on Hoopsville. Hoopsville presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Of course, on the road here in Salem, thanks to the ODAC and simulcast on ODAC.tv. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting from the Salem Civic Center as we get ready for the ODAC Women's Basketball Tournament quarterfinals. It'll start at 1 o'clock. We'll lead you almost all the way up to the start of those. Eastern Mennonite's women's basketball coach, Kevin Griffin, just joining us on the show. We appreciate him taking the time to join us as he gets ready for his game here coming up in just a matter of minutes. On the other side of things, we're going to take a little bit of a national scope here for the rest of the show. and talk women and continue our conversation with women's basketball, but of course, more importantly, talk about those teams who may be in position to make the NCAA tournament or those who may be or trying to win conference titles. And we're going to jump up into the NESCAC. Haven't had a chance to talk to GP Gromacki all season, and he joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline presented by the Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in the city of Salem. Coach Gromacki, are you there, sir? Very good. Thanks so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. You guys, certainly sitting well, to say the least, in conference action. You're right now 23-2 on the season, 9-1 in conference play. You'll take on Bowdoin. Of course, you guys got to go on the road. You got to play it at Tufts. A little bit different than it has been in recent years.
Yeah. We're looking forward to the challenge, but we're excited just to keep playing and see if we can get another championship.
This is a team. It's funny. We actually ran into you at the D3Hoops.com Classic out in Las Vegas. You weren't participating, but you could not resist the urge to drop by the South Point Arena to see what was going on. You guys were out there. You got wins over Vassar and Marywood while out there. You guys rolled off until you ran into Tufts January 17th. Nothing but wins. And then your second loss came to rival Williams. How has the season gone? I know you've had to deal with injuries. You've had to deal with maybe a little bit of a different season than you've had in the last few years.
Yeah, it's definitely a different feel this year, for sure. But, we're finding ways to win, and, every year is going to be different. But, like I said, we're excited to keep playing, and they've kind of had some ups and downs, and we fought through them and kind of finding our way now, and I feel like we're in pretty good position. But, obviously I think maybe some people know and some people don't know. We did lose our preseason All-American center, Megan Robinson, to an injury in that Tufts game. And, she's out for the rest of the season. And we just had to adjust to some things and have different people step up.
Well, adjust pretty nicely. Again, you've only had one loss since. What has been the key to that adjustment? You say the other team players have had to step up, but has it been really a team atmosphere, or maybe has it been one of those you found a diamond in the rough?
Well, I think we've had different people each night step up, and that's a testament to our players. So you can't really focus on one player. When you lose someone the caliber of Megan, that gives you a lot of points, a lot of block shots and rebounds. You got to find, different ways to win maybe, and I think we just had a little more balanced attack. If you took a closer look at our box scores game by game, it's really been a collective group stepping up each night, giving us, 10, 15 points, a couple, 20-point games here and there by different people. We've had to, not really rely on one person. It's been definitely a team effort, so it's great that you pointed that out.
Well, I was going to say, nobody jumps out at you on the stat sheet. Allie Doswell's got nearly 11 points a game, 11 out of Marley Giddens, nearly 10 points from Jamie Renner. You've got 8+ points from Hannah Peterson. But nobody jumps out at you. It does seem like you've spread the wealth in some ways. Of course, Giddens also 7.3 rebounds a game, certainly helping you inside along with Doswell. You've made the Final Four countless years at this point in time. Has this development almost maybe made you a stronger team?
I would like to hope so. Yeah, I think, you have to be a little more focused to detail when you don't have, the player like Megan. But, we're getting to see that maybe we had some, like you pointed out, some diamonds in the rough that, maybe we wouldn't have seen if Megan was doing a lot of the scoring. So I guess that's a good thing in some ways, that they have to step up and rely on themselves rather than just rely on one player. So I'm hoping it makes us stronger. Definitely, I think, the future looks bright, and but the future's now. We're not worried about what's down the road. We've got to take care of this weekend first.
I was going to say, you guys play Bowdoin games again at Tufts. Bowdoin, you played back on February 1st. You beat them 65-57. Is there anything you can take from that game, anything you can adjust to get you ready for this one? Or is it almost, when you're in tournament play at this point in time, you throw everything out and just play what you can do best?
I'd say a little both. Definitely can learn from that game. It was a nice win for us. But like I said, yeah, I mean, you got to focus on the now and what you can do during that game and make some adjustments and hopefully have some players step up.
I know you don't necessarily stare at the regional rankings, but you guys are second behind Tufts. Of course, Bowdoin and Williams behind you guys at 3 and 4. The NESCAC really well positioned to have a number of at-large bids no matter the outcomes here. Of course, Williams losing in the quarterfinals and stumbling a little bit late. How good has the top of this conference been this year?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, I think overall our conference was pretty balanced. And, you know, Trinity's made a great run. You know, you've had other teams that have definitely played well this year. So I think, you know, from top to bottom, it was definitely very deep. You know, obviously the top teams are very good teams, but I think, you know, this year is a very, very deep conference. You couldn't relax on anyone.
Being second in the regional ranking probably has a little bit of a good feeling, knowing that you probably are in a very good position to make the NCAA tournament should you not win the conference. I know you want to win the conference, certainly not taking anything away from that. But does it change the mentality at all of what you want to accomplish, or at least the pressure is off in the sense that if you don't win the title, it's okay, you probably still have postseason action ahead of you?
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to win one. We're focused to trying to get a conference championship. Obviously, the NCAA tournament's in the back of our minds right now, but it's, you know, definitely our goal to get in there and make a deep run and try to win a national championship. You know, you never want to take anything for granted. You never know if there's upsets in other conferences where you'll fall. You know, you'd like to think you're in great position to do some things and make it, but you never want to take anything for granted because you never know what's going to happen. You get some upsets here and there. I mean, I think being second with 23 wins would put us in pretty good position. But, you know, you just don't want to take things for granted.
You guys have been, again, to countless Final Fours in a row. It seems like you almost can pencil you guys in. Does that make it easier to keep the team focused on the task at hand, or does that actually make it more challenging because it just seems like that's a rite of passage?
It depends what type of team you have. You know, we've had teams that maybe didn't expect to be there and make it. We've had teams that have expected to be there and make it. And we have teams that, you know, it's kind of win a national championship or bust. So I think it really just depends on the team at hand.
Looking ahead, you've got Bowdoin, obviously, and then Tufts or was it Trinity, I think, on the other side of things. Certainly, I know you'd love to get to a championship game. What's the key going to be to get to Tufts and beat them for a championship?
Well, we obviously have to play well. And really, like I said, stay focused on the details and what we need to do to win those games. You know, we take the first game, and you know, we'll play a certain way against Bowdoin, and then play a certain way against Tufts and for Trinity. So wherever we face, we're not really looking at those two teams yet. You know, we just have to play well. I mean, they're all three of those teams are really good teams. So you're gonna have to play well to beat them.
What's the atmosphere been like on campus? I mean, for years, Amherst men and women basketball teams, along with plenty of other sports, including hockey, have certainly created a buzz. What's it like on campus with both the men's and women's teams playing so well?
It's been great. We're really supportive of each other. Obviously, they get a few more fans than we do at the home games, but you know, it's great having, you know, Coach Hickson. His office is right next door to mine, and I can bounce some ideas, and he can throw me some of his plays and things, and they're really supportive of us. You know, administration, you know, backs athletics really well at Amherst, which is great for us, and you know, people like women's basketball. We've had success, so we're just trying to keep it going. But yeah, our men's team is tremendous. Having them win it last year, you know, really helps. So it's definitely a lot of fun.
I'm sure the bragging rights in town, too, are nice to have over the D1s and the like. If anyone's not familiar, UMass, pretty much a stone's throw from campus. You mentioned Coach Hickson's office is right next door. Have you made him up a special Las Vegas shirt for him yet?
Yeah, I mean, he always seems to be going somewhere else, so
I
maybe
know.
he'll get out there sooner or later. But if he does, maybe we can surprise him, around Christmas time with
I would love to
some shirts.
I would love to see them in Vegas, if not at the Hoopsville Classic, but in Vegas, and I'd love to see him wearing one of those shirts. Those are classics.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot. Like I said, it's all about having fun.
Absolutely.
We do whatever we can.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for coming on. I know you're getting busy getting ready for Bowdoin, the game again tomorrow at Tufts. I know the team is getting ready. It's certainly been fun to watch how you guys have adjusted per the injury and see you successful once again. As always, and you know it, I give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
It's just great talking with you. I love talking basketball. You guys do a tremendous job promoting Division III basketball. And thanks again. I'd love to talk to you again, hopefully. And, enjoy your great day of basketball down there.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure we'll be talking to you in March. Just depends on when and where, right?
Okay, I hope so.
Thank
you.
Take care, Coach. Coach E.P. Gromacki joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament here at the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia. Again, the team is 23-2 overall. They are 9-1 in conference action. Lord Jeffs will be taking on Bowdoin coming up at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Again, those games at Tufts. Tufts the 1 seed. Of course, Tufts 1 in the regional ranking along with Amherst. Amherst is the 2 seed. Bowdoin is 3. Williams is 4. There is a very, 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 very likely chance 4 teams from the NESCAC on the women's side will be playing in the NCAA tournament. The only risk is maybe Williams only getting to the quarterfinals, but again, that loss already has been factored into these regional rankings, and they are 4th. So I would be pretty surprised if we aren't looking at 4 teams from the NESCAC in the NCAA tournament. And then what they do with them, where they move them around, where they position them, I think is going to be the biggest key to deciding what is going to end up happening for the NESCAC's ability. Remember, Williams and Amherst actually were on line to get to the championship game last year at Hope. They both ended up playing in the consolation game in a heartbreaking loss for Amherst in the semifinals on 2 buzzer beaters by Whitewater, 1 to tie it and force overtime, and then 1 to win it, both by Mary Merg for Whitewater. So Amherst recovering, still only 2 losses on the season from that. Of course, losing their best player due to injury in the Tufts game. They have rallied to continue playing good basketball. Again, 4 teams getting in. They could position them on different sides of the bracket, but eventually they're probably going to have to face each other. Tufts and Amherst, hopefully not till late, but don't be surprised if a Williams versus Tufts game is a maybe Sweet 16 game, or maybe barring some craziness, a second-round game. I suspect 3rd. And don't be surprised if you see Bowdoin versus Tufts or Bowdoin versus Williams maybe as a second-round game. It all will come together this weekend. The men's and women's national committees will get together on Sunday to decide who is in and who is out of the NCAA tournament, taking the AQs and then the Pool B and the Pool Cs. They will then figure out where they need to go and who they need to select. That all takes place on Sunday and Sunday evening, really. Then they kind of put a bracket together that night. We don't find out who's into the tournament, but they'll put a bracket together. Then they'll re-examine that bracket on Monday morning before officially giving it to the NCAA, who check marks it, make sure there's not too many flights and all that stuff. They will check that off, and then we will see the women's bracket released at 2:30 Eastern time on by the NCAA. Look for d3hoops.com for more information on who will, I really should say, release information as to when that will be streamed. We will have a link to that. The men will be, by the way, at 12:30 Eastern time, and again a special Hoopsville on Sunday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and then a special Hoopsville on Monday. We will kind of take a look at who's in, who's out, the matchups initially, have guests on, etc. That show somewhere between 3 and 4, still working on the details of that. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk to WashU women's basketball coach Nancy Fay maybe get her reaction on the fact that her winning streak in Division III will be won't be touched anytime soon, thanks to the loss by DePaul. So we'll take a break. Don't forget, interact with us on social media at D3 Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Also via Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville or via email Hoopsville@d3hoops.com. When we come back, WashU women's basketball coach Nancy Fay joins us. We are live at the Salem Civic Center for the ODAC Women's Championship Tournament. Well, thank you. If you're watching simulcast either on ODAC TV or on Hoopsville, we certainly appreciate your support. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Back with more Hoopsville right after this.
Mic check 1, 2.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. We're live at the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia, Roanoke Valley for the ODAC Men's and Women's Basketball Championship Tournaments. The women's tournament will be taking place today, starting in a little less than an hour with Eastern Mennonite, the top seed, starting action off with Shenandoah. You can see all those games on ODAC.tv, which we are on simulcast along with our usual partner, YouTube, here on Hoopsville. We appreciate everybody who have tuned in to enjoy the show. We are getting you ready for ODAC play. We've talked some ODAC action already. We're now on our national side of things. We'll get back to some ODAC in just a little bit. We're talking to a lot of teams who have either wrapped up already their conference AQ and into the NCAA tournament or positioning themselves. Speaking of wrapping up, that is our next guest, and WashU women's basketball coach Nancy Fay joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament here in Salem, Virginia, appropriately enough. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Well, glad to be here.
Appreciate it as always. First and foremost, the team has wrapped up the AQ for the conference. Has that gone as expected, I should say?
Gone as expected? Well, I wish we could expect something when you play games. No, it was a tough battle with our conference. UAA is always a tough conference to get through, so I was really pleased that we got it wrapped up before this Saturday.
I was going to say, it at least takes the pressure off of Saturday's game against Chicago, who is certainly having a pretty good year as well. You guys had some interesting travel scenarios. Weather certainly didn't make it fun for the Emory-Rochester trip. You guys have had some challenges along the way, but you plugged away and plugged away and plugged away and continue to play good basketball, which is almost status quo for WashU. But I know you're probably more hypercritical than anybody, as a coach should be. You're 22-2. Your losses to DePaul and your losses to Rochester. I suspect the Rochester one probably bugs you the most.
I don't know if their losses bug me, period. So I don't know if you can put a measuring stick on that one. I mean, DePaul obviously played them early in the year in that tournament and played them tough, but they're a very good basketball team on their home court, and they shot the ball really well. Rochester and WashU just have an interesting a competitive edge with each other. You know, you can't explain. You throw whatever schedule. I mean, whatever your record is, and we played an extremely tight game at their place. It was close. We hit some shots, and then we did the same thing back here, and they hit some shots. But that's, Jim Scheibel does a great job at Rochester. But I don't know if both of them still hurt. So.
Yeah, well, certainly they hurt for different reasons. Quickly, I'd love to focus on the DePaul game, if you don't mind. Of course, that win continued their winning streak. Your record winning streak gets to stay intact thanks to Ohio Wesleyan. I am curious if you're kind of like the Miami Dolphins. Did you send a box of champagne maybe to Ohio Wesleyan for knocking off DePaul?
Well, no, I mean I think that we're very proud of that 81. There's no doubt about it. It's something. While we were going through it, it was pretty magical. DePaul's a great basketball team. It's nothing that I know records are meant to be broken. I knew that they were crawling close to that, and if there was a team to beat it, I have a lot of respect for that program. So I'm just kind of sitting on the sidelines and watching that. Yeah,
58-game streak ends.
That's something to be very proud of. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's an incredible mark to begin with. Of course, then there is you guys did play them. That conceivably is an NCAA tournament matchup waiting to happen, hopefully deep in the tournament. What did you guys learn about your squad from that defeat? What did you learn about what you need to do the rest of the season?
I think I try to tell my teams we don't want to have to make losses be something that is, okay, now we're going to do this. We want to be able to win and do that. But obviously when you I think they were pretty much in control of that game. I think defensively we had to reevaluate some things. Offensively, our tempo, I think we've decided a little bit. It's so important that you got to be running downhill on the court, and I felt like it was a very pacey game that wasn't to our advantage. So I think both of the games with Rochester and DePaul, I think we've tried to adjust a little bit and get better. That's kind of our mantra this year is just. And not so much worry about who you're playing, but just stay competitive and get better.
In that Rochester game, I mean, that was kind of that quirk of the travel, if memory serves. Oh no, it was at home. I apologize.
It was at home.
So
it was after our double away, and that in the UAA, it's been a rough winter, and teams have had to play in some situations, but that's what you got to do, and all the credit to Rochester that night.
I was going to say, a Rochester team that maybe isn't at the standard that everybody is accustomed to, they get you guys at home, and I'm sure that was probably a little bit of surprise in some cases. What went wrong, if anything went wrong, and again, kind of like DePaul, would you learn from it?
Well, I think the one thing you have to understand about Rochester, they're about, I would say, 10 to 12 or 13 of their games have been decided in the last 2 minutes by a couple of points. They're not a team that was out of games. So we were not, we had a lot of respect and we understood it was coming. It was a game where I felt that they jumped on us early and we had to remotivate at halftime. I thought we played much better at halftime, after half, but that's the difference between, when you play competitive teams. If you don't come in and aren't sharp and another team jumps, you're going to pay the price, and we did. So I think the biggest thing is that's where we kind of went back to. Sometimes in league play, you start playing teams and not remembering to be a competitor, and because you know them and you're so familiar with them, and that's kind of where we refocused our energy.
Is it hard in those scenarios? That UAA always has that weekend where you play two teams, whether it's on the road or at home, and then you follow the same two teams the next weekend on the opposite. So if you played them at home, or in this case on the road, you then played them at home. Is there almost a sense of maybe complacency because you just saw them last week and you just beat them?
It's a unique psychological study, probably. Yeah, I mean, even as coaches, I mean, there's, you have to tweak something. I thought Rochester tweaked a couple of things we didn't expect, and that was, they played us differently the second game, and that's, I think, the game that's being played that week is how much are you going to make a couple of wrinkles in your program, whether it's defensively or offensively, and they gave us a couple of wrinkles, and it was to their advantage.
Let's talk about your team again. I think you got about 4 seniors on this squad, if my math was correct. You're led by, of course, turnover of the seniors is nothing you're not accustomed to. You certainly groom the underclassmen, but you're led by Melissa Gilkey, 16.5 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, shoots 52% from the floor, and don't put her on the free throw line. She's only missed 21 shots there this season. Alyssa Johansson, 11 points a game. You're getting 9.5 from Maddie Sheppers. Jordan Thompson, 8.5 points a game. Kristen Atta, 8.5. Jordan Reddick, 8 points a game. You have a lot of weapons. You go deep. You're not afraid to use a lot of your bench as well. But that's the stats. Give us a sense of who this team really is.
Well, I think a couple of years ago, after we had gone to the Final Four, we came in with a young class of freshmen that we had to kind of retool. It was accompanied with some older kids, but those juniors of Gilkey, Johansson, and Sheppers kind of anchored that group, and now they're juniors, and we have a good complement of our 4 seniors. So it's where I felt at times the last couple of years we were very competitive. There's just something you can't hurry experience sometimes, even though we really want it to happen quicker. I just felt that this year we have a nice blend of a more mature team, and they're mature kids, don't get me wrong, but it's just handling the travel, understanding what we have to do there, and I think that's been a little bit, we have a little more edge to us than I think we've had the last couple of years.
You guys are locked in the NCAA tournament. You've got the AQ from the conference. If anyone's not familiar, the UAA doesn't have a conference tournament. It's based on the regular season. You guys have wrapped that up with 1 game to play. You're #1 in the region, most likely in a hosting position, though the men are also #1 and they have the rights to the first weekend. We'll get to that in a second. But knowing you're in the NCAA tournament, knowing that you're going to be wanting to be as ready as you can be, does that change the approach with Chicago? Does that change the approach to a team who isn't going to be in the NCAA tournament? Do you rest players? Do you at least try and tinker with things? Is it almost like a scrimmage?
Oh gosh, no.
I only ask because you never know.
No, it's you know, if the last thing you want to do, in my opinion, at this point, is you want to be playing some of your best basketball. You want to be at a point where you're teaching your kids what competition is, and it would be, to me, disrespectful to Chicago to do anything, because if we don't go in there and be competitors, we're going to pay for that, and we honor the game, and we're preparing for it because we feel like it's a win. We want to make sure we stay in the #1 seed. We don't want to open any doors. And plus it's Chicago, and there's a good rivalry, a positive rivalry. So
I was going to say the rivalry
helps. I think my kids
helps.
would look at me crazy if I said anything else.
I was going to say the rivalry definitely helps drive the case. The Cubs Cards is bad. Bears Maroons isn't too far off. Quick question: you guys are 1 in the region. The men's team is 1 in the region. I know you're familiar with this, but in case anybody else isn't, WashU men will have first rights to hosting on the first weekend, barring there isn't a bye given, and there's extenuating circumstances as well. So you probably know you're going on the road. How do you prepare the team to understanding that? How do you prepare yourselves to know that you're going to have to go somewhere else that first weekend, despite all the efforts?
Well, I think the one thing is we're happy that both teams have been so successful. We're 2 programs that support each other, and we understand the NCAA and what the rules are. And we look at it as, I just think, hey, you're in, and be happy and go play. And sure, we put a lot of effort into it, and we'd love to host. But as it is, like, I think that there's, still a few teams that get to get in this. So take the experience and be positive about it and do your job. And if we do our job, then maybe we can host the second weekend. But first things first is Chicago, and then enjoy the tournament, enjoy the competition. And, I think that's the way we perceive it. We're happy for both teams.
And, of course, should point out to anybody out there, yes, you guys are in position to be the rights to host, and the men travel the second weekend. Coach, I really appreciate you coming on the show. My other question before I let you go is Mark Edwards finally got to 600. Have you been giving him tips on how to get to that milestone in the last few years?
I think it's the other way around. We kind of look at each other. We have about 40 steps between our offices, and I think we just kind of compliment. We're so happy for him. He's done an incredible job, and I'm glad that I've had an opportunity to work with him for the last 28 years.
Well, wonderful. Congratulations to both of you that have 600 wins for both of you. Congratulations on a terrific season as of this point. I appreciate you coming on the show. As always, I give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those maybe tuning in?
Well, I just appreciate all you guys do for the Division III. I think you're going to echo this. It's an exciting time of March, and I know your coverage is so important to all the people that follow. So thanks so much for all you guys do for Division III.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. It makes the job easier. Do me a favor. Give Chris Mitchell some hard time.
I will do that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Coach, thanks so much. Good luck against Chicago on Saturday, and good luck in the NCAA tournament as well.
Thank you.
Take care. Coach Nancy Fay joining us here on Hoopsville. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to jump into the Great Lakes, talk to Ohio Northern, maybe the team nobody's talking about, because there's 3 other great teams in women's basketball in the Great Lakes. You know, Thomas More, DePaul, and Hope. Ohio Northern's lurking right behind them. Let's find out just how good the Polar Bears are coming up here on Hoopsville. If you'd like to interact with us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville, on Twitter @D3Hoopsville or #Hoopsville, or email hoopsville@D3Hoops.com. When we return with Hoopsville again, Michelle Duran from Ohio Northern will talk about her Polar Bears squad, and then we'll wrap things up here from the Salem Civic Center as they're getting ready to tip off with women's basketball action here in the ODAC tournament. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coach. Simulcast thanks to the ODAC on ODAC.tv. Back right after this. And welcome back to the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia. This is Hoopsville on the Road. I am your host, Dave McHugh. You can interact with us via Twitter @D3Hoopsville or #Hoopsville. Don't forget, join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Email us questions for ourselves or our guests at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. On at a special time today, we will not have an evening show at 7 o'clock. This archive will be available for your enjoyment. We'll be back on the air Friday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, leading up to the men's quarterfinals in the ODAC tournament. We are currently leading up to the women's quarterfinals here at the Salem Civic Center and talking about women's basketball primarily as we enter the last weekend of action. And of course, that means talking to teams who may be in position or positioning themselves for making the NCAA tournament. And joining us on the Hoopsville hotline, presented by Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in the city of Salem, is Michelle Duran, head coach at Ohio Northern women's basketball team. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville. 22-4, not too shabby.
No, thanks, Dave. Yeah, it's been a good season so far.
Good season may be the understatement. Of course, you have a big game coming up tonight, so as we talk, if anybody's tuning in to when Hoopsville normally airs, you'll be tipping it up against John Carroll. All your four-year losses have come in conference play. John Carroll got you guys pretty good back on December 7th. You returned the favor mid-season at their place with a 3-point win. This conference has been kind of interesting to watch. How do you see yourselves, and how do you see yourself positioned?
Well, you know, our conference is really good every year from top to bottom, and certainly the top 4 teams this year are really good. So, you know, right now positioning-wise, you know, we have a really tough game tonight. You know, it could go either way, and hopefully it'll go our way.
Yeah, John Carroll, the 1 seed in the conference. Baldwin, of course, they were tied with Baldwin Wallace. I should say Baldwin Wallace is the 1 seed. They're the 2 seed. That's why you're playing them. It has been
actually John Carroll's the 2 seed.
Yes, that's misspoke. Baldwin Wallace 1, John Carroll 2. You guys are 3.
Yeah.
And with Capital, it has been a 4-horse race, and it has been fascinating to watch. 1 minute it's Baldwin Wallace, 1 minute it's John Carroll, then it's you guys. It's really been back and forth this year. As much as it's always a tough conference, it seems like maybe the top was a little bit stronger than usual this year.
Yeah, I think it was really pretty balanced, and you know, we tend to beat each other up a little bit, but yeah, it was really balanced for top 4 teams.
You sit again in a position that I know you want to win a championship. You guys all sit behind some behemoths in the Great Lakes region who we'll talk about later. What do you think you guys need to do outside of winning the conference to get in the NCAA tournament? Is this a scenario where you think your resume is good enough that no matter what happens tonight, you think you can get in, or do you need to at least get to the championship game?
Well, I would love to think that our resume is good enough. I think we played a great schedule this year. I think it's the second toughest in the region. But, Dave, I think we need to win tonight or we won't get in.
Is that a message you've told the team?
So, I'm sorry, say that again.
Have you actually relayed that message to the team as well?
No, I don't talk about that to my team at all. I don't talk about
Doesn't surprise me. I'm always curious about what coaches tell their teams. So you think you need to get in, so obviously the game has a lot on the line. What's the key tonight? You've played them twice. They beat you pretty good back in December. You got them back at their place a few weeks ago. What's the key to tonight's game?
But I think the key for probably any game is defense, and I think we've been playing pretty good defense. We held Mount Union to 32 points the other night, and I think we got to be able to defend, and that's no easy task. They're the best offensive team in our conference.
This regional ranking-wise, you guys sit behind Baldwin Wallace and John Carroll, interestingly enough. So really everybody's trying to jockey for positions to really help themselves in this conference and help themselves in this tournament. Do you think 3 teams from this conference have a legitimate chance of getting in the NCAA tournament?
I think they should. But what I think and what ends up happening, I mean, this tournament to me is crazy. The best teams don't always get in. I think that's been proven out over years. I think the top 4 teams in our conference easily win 1 or 2 games in the NCAA tournament. It's not smart. But that's just my feeling. I never think they put the top teams in the tournament. They sort of even things out, I suppose.
Curiosity, of course, in the ODAC, or in the Mid Great Lakes region, I should say. I mentioned behemoths. You have DePaul, Hope, and Thomas More who are rolling through teams right now. It almost seems like the conference race that you guys have had has been kind of dwarfed by all of that. Maybe that's a good thing, but what are your thoughts on the region this year, especially maybe those 3 teams?
I think our region's probably the toughest. I think the 3 top teams in the region all legitimately have a chance to win a national championship. You know, I'd like to see how we match up with them. We didn't play any of them, but I think our region's really, really good, and you know, I think our conference is really good. I hope the committee sees that and we'll put 3 of us in, but I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, let's talk about your team for a minute. You got 3 seniors on this squad, but not necessarily in the stat sheet led by them. Jordan Kim's the junior, 14.5 points a game, 8.5 rebounds. Then you have the senior, and is it Sezi? Kenzie. See, I should not overthink it. Kenzie Yoder, 11 points a game. She's got 6.5 rebounds a game. Those are the big two, along with Carly Thomas, the sophomore, at 9.2 points a game. Those are stats. We get an idea who the big players are in some sense, a forward, a center, and a guard, which certainly makes it nice and round. But tell us about the rest of this squad, because you like to go deep on this bench. It looks like you're willing to go sometimes as far as 12, 13 deep.
Yeah, I mean, we like to think we're pretty balanced. Unfortunately, we've had some sickness and injury affect us over the last 2 weeks. One of our starters is out with mono. She's probably out for the season. And then one of Brooke Espenchi, and then Carissa Steffes is one of our key subs, went down with an ACL injury about 2 weeks ago. So we lost two pretty key players for us. But our bench has been strong all year, and we try to play 10 people. So hopefully that'll work well for us.
Again, the focus is obviously winning the conference title. So what do you tell the team? You're not telling them we got to win tonight, clearly. But what are you telling this squad, who obviously has had to go through some battles here with injuries and illnesses and the like, and try and find other players who can step up at different occasions? So when you go in the locker room tonight and you talk to them getting ready for John Carroll, what's the message?
The message is to keep doing what we've been doing. We've got to play really good defense. We have to play together and for each other, and just go out and play as hard as we can, and really enjoy the process. I think it's great to be in games like this, and it should be fun.
Wrapping things up here with Michelle Durand from the Ohio Northern. The women's basketball team is 22-4, 14-4 in conference play. They wrap that up. They play John Carroll coming up. Of course, you got a big win over Mount Union to position yourselves at this point in the tournament. How big was that win? And Mount Union was another one of those teams that every year has been good, and in some years has carried the mantle for this conference.
Yeah, it was a big win. Anytime again we win in the conference, I think it's a big win. Mount Union has always been a really good three-point shooting team, and I thought we did a great job of shutting them down in that area on Tuesday night. And it wasn't a pretty game to watch, but I think the game point it was probably our best season.
I was going to say 49-32. Did you guys forget to play the last 10 minutes of the game?
I'm sorry?
I said 49-32. It almost looks like you only played 30 of the 40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't have a lot of shots going initially, but again, we really played great defense.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the season. Good luck tonight against John Carroll. Certainly keep an eye on the Polar Bears. I think how the OAC handles things and is put in the NCAA tournament is going to be fascinating to watch. So we wish you luck tonight. We wish you hope we will be talking about your team coming up on Monday as well. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
No, I'm just happy to be on, and go Polar Bears.
Very good. Thanks so much, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coach Michelle Durand joining us here on Hoopsville. Going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up here from the ODAC and the wrapping things up before the quarterfinal action in women's basketball. Brad Bankston will join us, commissioner of the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Join us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Hoopsville. And, of course, join us as well on email, Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. When we come back, Brad Bankston joins us to wrap things up here at the Salem Civic Center. Once again, Hoopsville on the road in Salem, thanks to the ODAC and simulcast on YouTube and ODAC.tv. Back right after this. And welcome back to Hoopsville. I'm Dave McHugh, joined by Brad Bankson, Commissioner of the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. Of course, Hoopsville on the road here at the Salem Civic Center. Normally we are here for, let's see, it's either a Stag Bowl or it's a basketball championship in the men's variety.
We see you too often,
NCAA,
Dave.
I know.
Yeah.
I just realized it's my 7th trip down I-81 just for this. In some ways, I'm more used to traveling here than I think anywhere else in the country, including my parents' place. Should mention 18 on my trip down to Atlanta.
Yeah.
You guys have made a point that you want this conference tournament, and really all your tournaments, but really this one especially, to have a grand feel to it. You brought it to the Salem Civic Center, obviously thanks to the Rotary Club here in Salem and those here at the Civic Center as well. But what's been the driving force to put on an event like this where we're going to see 4 women's games on Thursday, 4 on Friday, then the semis on Saturday and championships on Sunday?
You know, it's a great question, and I think a lot of it was done before I came here. And, you know, we've had the opportunity to, I guess, improve the product, so to speak, but the foundation was here with the relationship with the Rotary Club that's been here for, you know, 30 years plus. And it's a joint venture. It really is. It provides a championship environment for our student athletes, which is what we try to do. I see that as really what my job's all about. Yeah. And we are able to accomplish that here. But at the same time, we're able to work with a club and a group of people that are returning the tournament proceeds to the community, not only in the Roanoke Valley and the state of Virginia, but also across the world. And you know, I don't know what better lesson to teach a young college student than to recognize the work that they put into this and know that their labors are being used in that way.
And you kind of treat this a little bit like the NCAA tournament. There's a championship banquet where awards are presented for the women. That was last night. For the men, it'll be tonight during the games. You have the atmosphere. I mean, we joked earlier when I walked in, I'm not used to this being as open. You don't have as many stuff on the sidelines, as it were, but it still has that championship feel to it. The music, the DJ, the PA announcer, the broadcasting. You guys have taken what you've learned from the NCAA tournament and really poured it into this. Is there a driving reason behind that, or is it, hey, we know how to do this, why don't we just?
You know, the funny part about it, and it'll sound arrogant, but it's not. Salem wouldn't have had the NCAA championship without the ODAC tournament.
No, that makes sense.
And we use this as kind of our barometer as to how to build that. I mean, that's been a long time ago. That's been 1996, and you know, it's hard to believe that I've been here for all of them. And it's hard to say that, you know, I don't want to admit.
You were just an intern then,
I don't
right?
want. No, well, actually, I just started. But I don't want to admit that I'm old, but I think I'm getting there. And you know, we started. We built a model around that. We filmed what we were doing here. We created a pitch for the initial championship through this tournament. We brought in a film crew, and the city really invested their time and efforts behind it. We used this as the foundation, kind of what we had before, and as we built on it as a conference. And then the tournament coming in has only enhanced what we're doing here. I mean, sometimes that's not a good thing when you're dealing with a group of coaches, because, you know, they see what you're doing with the NCAA tournament, and some of that has to do with finances as well. Yeah. It's nice to have the group from Indianapolis come in and drop some cash on you, but we have tried to experiment with things here, and we're always willing to kind of push the envelope a little bit and do something different, you know. And I think ODAC TV is a direct result of that. Yeah. And really trying to take a cutting-edge production group and come in and try to produce something that we can do for all of our championships and let it grow. And, you know, heck, somebody's got to try it, you know, and why not us? And I think that you know, J.J. Nekoloff and Molly Robertson in our office are always willing to take a chance, and you know, we've done that, and we continue to do that here as well.
Nice segue, because I was going to bring up ODAC TV. I know that was something you guys have been kind of mulling about for a long time, and finally were able to execute it. It would really kind of make its debut, as it were, here this weekend. It's had some other moments as well.
Yeah,
swimming, certainly. What's been the driving? I'm going to use driving force, but what was the mentality there? Certainly, you've gotten all your schools to at least be able to stream in a good quality stream. You've been able to get them to do more and more things. So why then add on, as it were, a whole nother element to it?
Well, you know, we kind of led the way with that. You know, when it was the opportunity for us to stream, it's been a number of years ago. We've been streaming this tournament for 6 or 7 years, and we tried to pull them along. And the best part about it is we accomplished that by getting them all, you know, doing pretty much all of their events that they're able to, you know, have service where they can do them up on the internet, and try to get the word out about what Division III athletics and ODAC athletics is all about. And in this situation, you know, we had an individual who came to us. We've been mulling it over, and and pitched the idea of a professional production that we were going to be able to do and have a driving force with somebody who understands about how to do that. And that's how we ended up where we are. I mean, I can tell you, I don't know whether we'd be here had he not knocked on our door and pursued us very, encouraging all along the way. And, JJ looked at me when we decided to do it, and we kind of had a long conversation about it, and he said, so you're in on this thing? And I said, yeah, I'm in on this thing. And he was like, great, So, and then we looked at each other and like, what do we do now? And, but Chad Cecil and his group have been fantastic. And I know there are a lot of people out there that do a great job with streaming, and we're just very fortunate that Chad happens to be in Charlottesville and is an eager entrepreneur who is interested in highlighting Division III athletics and what we're doing in the ODAC. And that's how we ended up where we are.
Quickly, the basis of this, because some people may be a little confused. There is a pay-per-view element to this.
There is.
How much is there? How much is almost a double-edged question.
Yeah.
How much does it cost? But second of all, how much of it is going to be pay-per-view and how much isn't?
Well, the intent right now is that we're going to do the championships, and if you watch it live, you're going to pay. Like for today, you'd pay $8. You could watch 4 basketball games. It's a daily rate. After that, everything on demand is free. So if you want to go back and actually watch the game, which we'll edit afterwards, you'll have the opportunity to do that for free. We'll also have interviews that we may be doing. He may cut some of this up. We may put a little bit of this. At least with my exactly right. With my mug on it, he might be able to cut it up. We'll separate it right here in the middle. And and then after that, our intent is to have the opportunity for people to sell, or him to sell, and people to buy the actual broadcast. And he will send that to you on a flash drive. It'll be all prepared, ready for you to be able to stick into your television or your computer. And, maybe we'll have a few of those that we'll sell for the championship on Sunday, because hopefully it'll be a memorable experience for somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Quickly, we got the tournament starting up on the women's side right behind us. Of course, the 1 seed EMU is going to be taking on Shenandoah, a team they just faced off a couple days ago, essentially, in conference tournament action. When you look at this women's side of things, it looks like 2 teams are vying to get into the NCAA tournament. Anybody else is going to need an AQ. How important is a day like today?
Well, I think today's big. Monday was large for them as well.
Yeah.
And our tournament's a little unique. When you go back and look at what other Division III conferences are doing, a lot of them don't have everybody qualifying, and that's double-edged sword.
Yeah,
you could end up with
go both ways.
You could end up with Randolph-Macon playing Hampton City tomorrow, and the men in the first round at 1 o'clock, and that might be one that Nathan Davis didn't want to have on the schedule. That's a big rivalry for them. But I think we're looking for 4 great basketball games today, and our women's rankings and seedings over the years have tended to be tiered, and we've had an upper group, we've had a middle group, and we've had a lower group, and you could kind of come into the day and have an anticipation as to who's going to win. I don't know if that's true this year, and I think the coaches have expressed that over at the beginning of the season. They felt that way. They certainly do now at the end of the season. Our schedule's a little unique. You're playing 16 games. We've got 12 people in the league, so you're not playing everybody twice. Right. You're not playing everybody at home and everybody away. So we don't really know what is going to happen, and that's kind of what makes the tournament that much more interesting now than as opposed to what we did before, which was playing everybody twice.
Of course, you used to be the committee chair on the football side of things, so you know how this all works.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Have you tried to handicap it? Have you tried to look at what could or would not happen? Or have you just literally cut bait and said, forget it, I'm done?
No, I think our scheduling, the way it has worked, because our people have the ability to go out and play non-conference games, maybe more so than other leagues, we have the ability to have a better strength of schedule. And that's just mathematically the fact. Yeah. But it depends on who you play. And ultimately, you have to win those games. Yeah. So, we haven't tried to handicap it. I don't know what's happening here. And, heck, I don't even know who's playing this game now. But
I only cheated and looked at your
I know. Yeah, well, that's why I have them all laid out. I thought you were going to be very specific with me. So in lieu of that, I think we are in a great position as a basketball league and as a league as a whole. And the reason why is I think our geographic proximity of who we have in our institutions, where our institutions are located, and the effort that our people are putting behind their athletic department and their facilities and their resources are, I've been here a long time. I hate to admit how long I've been here.
Don't worry.
At the same time, I'm very proud of what our people are doing. And as again, I just don't want to admit that I'm old. But
don't blame me a bit.
I'm there.
It just passed a birthday. I don't want to really do it either. Before I let you go, though, I'd be remiss. Sure. We talked back in December when you guys got the Stag Bowl for 4 more years, and this the men's basketball championship for 4 more years, counting this year 5 more years officially. How how important has that been to this conference? How important has that been to this region to have these championships, and really for the NCAA to look at you guys and go, you know what, you do it so well that despite everybody else's bids, we're still coming back.
Well, Kerry does it well, and the city of Salem
we'll
does
talk
it
to
well.
him tomorrow.
Yeah, and we've had an opportunity to hook our caboose to that engine, and we've benefited many ways. I think most importantly, we've benefited by the relationship we built with the city. Yep. And the ability to be able to use facilities like this in the Moyer complex and the facility in Lynchburg, and all the municipalities around us kind of embrace the league because of our geographic footprint within the state of Virginia. What has it done for the league? I think for the most part it's because we're on the extremity, because we're the southern tier of Division III, I guess, and the South goes a long way, by the way, from like Maryland and New Jersey, depending on which sport, all the way down.
Yeah.
I think it's increased the exposure of the conference for people to understand what we do and how we do it, and I think Southern Hospitality certainly goes a long way, but hopefully they feel it's a professional organization, and it's helped enhance our reputation nationally. I feel certain that it has. You know, I was here for the first Stag Bowl in 1993, and a lot of people probably didn't. Yeah, I know that, and I'll keep. I graduated in high school, and we probably not a lot of people knew about the ODAC, and that's a part of Division III, and the fact that the internet wasn't prevalent then, and hey, I remember when I was in Blacksburg in grad school trying to email. It was like this big deal. Everybody had to. Blacksburg was this email hub. But it's really helped. It's helped spread the word, and it's helped us to have people like yourself come to our tournament and do a broadcast like this and help showcase what we're very proud of, and really what every Division III school should be proud of, because I'm sure everybody's doing just as good a job.
Well, thank you for the invite. Certainly enjoy being down
Thanks
here for something other than an NCAA tournament game. Regular season action isn't so bad. Of course, we'll be back on the air tomorrow at 11 o'clock previewing the men's side of things. The women will be tipping off here at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 8 o'clock are your 4 games on the women. Don't forget ODAC.tv is where you can watch those. We will actually stop the stream temporarily and then restart it to get you ready for those games. Again, 11 o'clock tomorrow, we'll get you ready for the men's side of things here. Hoopsville on the road. If you wanted more information, follow us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville and hashtag Hoopsville, Facebook.com/Hoopsville, and Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com is your email address. I want to thank Brad Bankson, JJ Nekoloff, Molly Robertson for helping us out here.
She has a new name now.
Yeah, I know. I'm adding new names all show long if anybody's been paying attention. I want to thank all those for them help, and of course ODAC.tv for simulcasting our show. Thank you very much, sir. We'll get ready for women's basketball action coming up here on ODAC.tv, and if you want more of this Hoopsville show, the archive will be available in a matter of minutes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Friday back here at 11 o'clock. For Brad Bankson and everybody else here on Hoopsville, see you then. Hoopsville presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, and on the road, thanks to the ODAC.